Hey guys, and welcome back to The Occasional Angler. We do tips, trips and advice for all you anglers out there who are born to fish but forced to work. So today what I'm going to show you is how I am going to rig a WESTIN SHADTEEZ. Now this is the 19 centimeter version. And this will also work for the Ricky the Roach, which is the 18 centimeter version, which I've got here. The reason I'm doing this is in a couple of weeks' time I'm off to the pike trials over at Chew Valley, and so these will be the soft plastics which I'm using. Because of these are larger lures, 18 and 19 centimeters, whereas on the smaller SHADTEEZ I would have rigged a jig head through it like this. I'm opting to use a screw-in head like this, which will screw into the head, and then I can attach my traces through here. I've got this pre-set up. It's all very fiddly, so I'll try and be as quick as possible with it. But essentially the idea is this screw head will screw in as so. Then there's a little hook holder here, or a little eye here. I'm going to attach a split ring here, which is I think this one's a 27-pound split ring. Attached to that I'm going to attach a swivel. That means that when the pike takes the lure, these two hooks will come free, and it can spin around, so it won't put any excess pressure on the wire traces. From that I've got a wire trace back to my first treble, and I've got a crimp here and a crimp here. The wire trace which I'm using is Surflon Micro, and it, just put this in the middle, it's 40 pounds. It's Surflon Micro Supreme, and it's a really soft, malleable wire trace. I like using that. The hooks which I'm using are Pike Pro. I've got them here, and these are size 4 semi-barbed, and I will be crimping down the barbs on 2 of the hooks, and they work really well for this. So what will happen is the wire trace will connect to this using a crimp. The crimps which I'm using are also Pike Pro crimps. These ones, they're single barrel ones, so that will connect to there. Then again I'll get the right length here, and that will connect to this little split ring here. That little split ring will hang that hook as so, and also out of that split ring I've made these little holders, and that will just go up into the body of the lure and just hold the whole thing close in. So this can freely dangle. I'll show you, this will make more sense once I start getting further into the video. Again, from here to here, another section of wire trace, and then there'll be another one of these hooks to just hold this in place back here. Okay, so what I've got here is the initial bit. So I have done the first section of this, which is getting that bit, that length right. So that goes from there to there. I'm happy with that. That looks about the right length. What I've done is I've fed, so you've basically got the wire trace, it comes up, and then you feed it back through the crimp, and then I can pull on this tag end here to adjust the length of this, the overall length of this, to get that fine fitted. So let's do that. Right, So I'm going to just use some forceps and I'm going to clamp onto the end of this, as so, and then I can just yank down on it a little bit and I should just be able to get the length absolutely perfect to where I want it to be. Once I've got that where I want it, I can then just clip this excess off, as so. I'll use a pair of wire cutters. You can leave a little bit of a tag here, doesn't matter too much. And that's nice and neat, as so. And then I just crimp both of these crimps, which will secure the wire trace. So I've got some crimping pliers here, like this. These are now just crimped down. And then I'll crimp them. There's a second little one which I use just to sort of secure it down a little bit more. But essentially crimping pliers should be accurate to the size of the crimps which you use. Now that's not going anywhere, definitely not going anywhere. And again, that now sits within there. Crimp that right down. And that really is not going anywhere at all. That's really solid. I'll give it just a little bit more just to make sure. And that's really good. Okay, so the next section of this is I need to put on one of these split rings to attach it to this little holder here. So I have a split ring here. I've got a pair of split ring pliers. Unfortunately these split ring pliers are a little bit too big for these split rings, so it's a bit fiddly. But in essence I can open up the split ring and then I can thread that on, as so. And then I'll just work it on. Use the pliers to do this. And now that is attached, as so. Okay, now we need to attach. I'll just move these out of the way so I'm not getting confused. Now we need to attach that and this to that. So again, we'll do exactly the same. I'll also show you how to make this little pin. So give us 2 seconds and I'll attach those. So here we go. I've now attached the treble hook to this ring, and I've also attached one of these little pins here. So next thing I need to do is set up this little bit of wire trace, which will connect to here and then connect to this little treble at the back, and we'll have another pin which is located like that to just hold it in place. So give me 2 seconds. I'll use the power of doing this off screen and I'll be back in 1 second. And here is the final thing. So essentially you now open this split ring up and attach it to your screw head. You then screw your screw head into here. The reason that you use screw heads on bigger baits like this is, or one of the benefits of it anyway, is that because it doesn't make the lure so rigid, so it allows a lot more action in the lure. Also, you can change these jig heads up, or these screw-in heads up at any point to different sizes. So I work on the principle that 1 gram per foot. So for example, if you're fishing in 8 to 10 foot, you'd probably use a 10 gram jig head. And then we come down here. Now these little pins just push directly into the lure like so, and same with this one. I'll just push this in, and what that does is it just secures that in place, so they can, and I'd probably push them in a little bit further than that, but then when it's swimming around, the hooks are free swinging, but when you get a take, those will obviously pull out and just attach to the jig head and your main line, which will be coming off here with your wire trace coming from there. This will also work perfectly well with Ricky the Roach, which is 18 centimeters as well. Now I'll quickly show you how to make these little pins to hold in there, and then you can go and do it yourself, and hopefully you'll go out and catch some really nice pike with something like that. It's a really professional setup, and you know, you can reuse it for all your different soft plastics. Okay, so now I'll show you how to do this pin. So to make these pins, I'm using just some steel wire leader. Any kind of steel will use. I just had some of this left over from when I used to go big game fishing. So I'm just going to chop a length of it. Don't be too stingy. So we've got a length of wire. Now all I do is I use something like forceps. In fact, in this case, our forceps, and I crimp it down like that, so I've got it. I do it right at the end, so I've got a bit of space. Then I just basically use that to bend this right round, as so you can see it like that. Once it's bent round, I can just take this tag end, and you only need one loop, really. That's basically a haywire twist. That's not going to go anywhere, and you end up with that. Let me just show you like that. Now what we'll do is we'll just clip that off. And then I'll probably just clip this down to about there as well. It doesn't need to be that big. And there you go. You got one. Free basically, instead of having to pay for everything. Okay guys, well look, I hope this really helps you, and this exact technique can be used on some of the bigger lures out there. I can show you an example. So you may want to use something like this, which is WESTIN. This is the TEEZ ST, which is 25 centimeters long, and it's exactly the same principle. I'd use a screw-in head like that, like that, and I'd just use bigger trebles, and I'd position the trebles probably here and probably somewhere in between here. But basically I probably use size 1/0s or size 2/0s trebles, but it's exactly the same principle. And there is something great about setting your own rigs up and catching off your own rigs. So if you like that kind of thing and you're into lure fishing and pike fishing, why don't you give this a go? Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you guys and hear comments back and what you guys are up to. If you've got any comments on what I've done, maybe you know a better way of doing it, I'd love to hear back from you about that. And until next time, best of luck with your own fishing adventures.